In this video, we're going to talk about change handlers. Change handlers are used to react on changes that are happening to fields. Let's see first what are field updates. So field updates are changes of an item field value and can occur in the context of state transitions, but also upon editing an item. Please note that adding, removing, or editing comments, attachments, associations, children, SCM commits on work or config items are not field updates, so workflow events can therefore not be handled there. But when we want to react on an update on a specific field, if we want to be more specific even in a specific item status, then we can use the change handlers. We're going to see a cross-project example, and we're going to overview how the configuration was done for this cross-project example. For our example, we're going to use 3 projects. We're going to have a master project for our legal requirements, and we're going to have an EU and the US project. The goal of today's configuration is that we can store all of our legal requirements in the master project, and by selecting a specific field on each requirement, we can select whether that requirement should go to the EU market demo project or the US market demo project. Therefore, we can easily copy legal requirements from our master to all of our child projects. Let me go ahead and open the master project. I'm going to go to the tracker. We have the legal requirements tracker where we are storing all of our legal requirements. I already have the EU project open. Here we have a tracker for the EU legal requirements and similarly to the US legal requirements. These 3 are different projects on the 3 tabs. Our goal is that by selecting the applicable market field, specifying the value whether it's EU, US or both, our legal requirement is going to be automatically copied to one or both of these projects. So let's see how it works. Let's choose our first requirement, which is the emission standards. I'm going to select the US for the applicable market. I'm going to save that. I'm going to navigate to the US project, refresh, and we see that our item has been copied and it has a reference to the master legal requirement. Let me go back to the master project, and let's say I want this to be applicable for both markets, so I'm going to add the EU as well. I'm going to save it. First, I'm going to check the US market. There is no change here, but if I refresh the EU market, my requirement was copied over from the master project, and similarly, there is a reference to the master requirement. So if I click on this reference right here, it's going to open the master project and the master element of that project. So let me go back to our EU market project. This is the behavior that we can achieve with change handlers. Now let's take a look at the configuration behind. I'm currently in the master project in my legal requirements tracker. So let's go to the configuration. Let's go to state transitions. Down in the more button, we have the option to create a new change handler. And here we can specify which state the item should be when this change handler can be triggered. It can be any of the existing states or all of the states. So if we choose these asterisks, then the change handler will be triggered regardless of the state. Then we can add a change. And lastly, we have to specify an action. So we're going to review what's already created that we just saw an example of. For this, I'm going to click on this market field change handler. This is going to be triggered in all of the states. And there is one initial change that is called market field change. So let's see that. There's only one condition. So this is going to be triggered whenever the applicable market field changed. Once this change happened, our action is going to be triggered. As you can see, currently we have 2 actions. One for when the EU market is selected and one for when the US market is selected. Let's review the first one because they are the same, but just with different values. For our action, which is going to be a new downstream reference or upstream reference creation, we have to give a condition. For this, I created a condition that is called EU selected. And if we take a look at it, it's going to only specify the conditions. Basically, what this means is that if there was nothing selected, but we selected the EU market, then the action can take place. Or if the market was already only US, but we also added the EU market as well, so both markets are selected, then the EU selected condition is fulfilled. So if I go back, we can see that this time we are creating a new downstream or upstream reference where we are going to copy our summary and our description from the requirement where this action was triggered. And up here, we can see that the new requirement is going to be created from the master legal requirements to the EU market demo project. From those trackers that are in there, we're going to select the EU legal requirements tracker. Let's take a look how it looks like when we want to create this from scratch. I'm going to add the new action. Here, I'm going to select the requirements for master legal requirements, because this is going to be a reference. And then we can select one of our two projects and then one of the trackers from that project. From this point, this is the same as what we've seen before.